Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap, a Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host, Terry, and today doing a recap of our Week 4 matchup against the Minnesota Vikings. It was old school kind of slugfest. I think, when you think about the Bears, the black and blue division of the NFC North, stop the run the ball, low scoring games. That's kind of what we had today. And unfortunately, I missed quite a bit of it, including the Trubisky injury because of the weather warnings and the storms and all that. I'm not going to get into it. But if I knew the weatherman's name, I would put his name out there because he ruined the game for me. But other than that, we got a lot to talk about. So first of all, Trubisky got hurt and is looking like he's going to be hurt for an extended period of time. They're talking about a collarbone. He got hurt last year against the Vikings, and it's just kind of one of those things. So remember back then in the summer when I did my video talking about Chase Daniel, and I had so many people yelling at me, "Why are you talking about Chase Daniel? Why are you talking about a backup quarterback?" Well, this is why I'm talking about a backup quarterback, because you only got one starter, and it only takes one play for them to get hurt. And so now it's looking like that's what we're going to have. But much like Trubisky, I would say Chase Daniel, as I mentioned before, he doesn't have anything that's going to carry a team. But when you're talking about having a defensive battle, keeping the score low, giving the offense a short field, that's the type of situations that he can be effective in. I won't say he will excel. Won't carry us, but he can be effective in. I think seeing him against the Minnesota Vikings defense, which isn't 100%, but has some good pass rushers, I got a lot of confidence in it. And so, again, I won't go through a whole bunch with Chase because I did a video on it. You could go look at the play analysis from last year. I talked about what his strengths and weaknesses are. And so he came out and did nothing that surprised me. I understood that he can operate within the Nagy system and within the certain parameter. And I think he did a great job of that today, even though we didn't have as great of a run game as we would have wanted to. And I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time on both sides of the ball because this was kind of that straightforward meat and potatoes game where the score was low. It was a battle of, who could protect the ball. And that was pretty much it. The defenses were the ones doing the heavy lifting. And so, again, for our offense, the run game still doesn't look great. I know we all like David Montgomery, and I do too, but our offensive line is just not built to go downhill right now. And again, I would like to see us do more zone like the Vikings do. But I think we did enough to keep the defense honest. We didn't just pass all day, but we did pass a good amount. And that's just what Nagy's system is. Besides the misdirects and all the play actions and all that, it's going to be some short West Coast passing. And so for me, you got to run the ball just to keep the defense honest, just to give the threat of the play action, all that good stuff. And so I think we ran the ball enough to give the defense something to think about. But then when you're talking about the short field and the short plays, I think Chase was effective at it. But long term, it is, a question. And I'm not going to panic or say too much until we know exactly what Trubisky's injury is and how long he'll be out. But, Chase isn't a guy that's going to carry us on his back. And I don't think our defense is a defense that's going to carry us on their back. We've seen issues, but again, this isn't against top-level competition because we know it only gets harder, from here and into the playoffs. So for right now, I think he could steady the ship, but we just got to see how long Trubisky's out. Defensively, Khalil Mack, I said this a few weeks ago, or actually last week maybe, but he continues to show why he's big-time play and not just bullying people or running around people, but when you have the skill to dip the shoulder, lean around the corner, get low, as I said, that's when he's best, and we saw it. And that's to me, that should be your number one move. I'm not going to tell the man how to play D-line, but that should be your number one move, and everything should be worked off of that. But when he does that, when he gets his shoulder low, when he turns his hips towards the quarterback, it's hard to block him, and he shows that he can, wreak havoc. But then outside of that, we got to, congratulate all the backups that stepped up. Roquan Smith was out. I didn't even know that was happening. But Nick Kwiatkowski stepped up. Him and I forgot his name, but Pierre Lewis, his first name. But they both stepped up. You had Nick Kwiatkowski showing that as well as a downhill run stopper, he's not bad of a blitzer. You saw him getting Dalvin Cook a move, almost broke his ankles and ended up getting a sack. Then you see him blow through the center just to get to that screen pass. So really showing his ability. And he blew Dalvin Cook up another time. He didn't get the sack, but he blew up the play to make Kirk Cousins pull the ball down and cause the sack. So Nick Kwiatkowski absolutely showed up today because we knew that his athletic ability, pass coverage ability was one of the things that we were worried about. But he did show that he could show up in other ways. And then Pierre Lewis came in, third down linebacker. Could we have brought another safety out? Maybe, but we trusted in those guys, and I like to see what they did. As well as Akeem Hicks, Bilal Nichols out. You saw Nick Williams continue to push the pocket, cleaning up, making some sacks. You saw Roy Robert Harris, who we all know has some ability, doing his thing. Aaron Lynch is still trash, but whatever. So I just feel inspired to see the backups play well. And even though we know their limitations, we don't often see them with the first unit. And so in the preseason, we can kind of get these notions of who they are. But when you see them with the first unit and they're playing around with other talent, they could be contributing factors. So really excited and encouraged to see kind of those people step in and do their role. But number one, it goes to the pass coverage. It goes to the secondary. I think, again, Buster Skrine has been good. I don't know if he's as good as Callahan healthy, but he's been good. I really like his coverage. We know what Eddie Jackson brings. Again, I talked about Clint Dix bringing a different level of coverage. Prince has been a weak link. We've seen, he got the forced fumble, which the replay showed, but other than that, they pick on him, and you can see he gets lost very easily, so that scares me. But other than that, the coverage has been doing their thing. We know exactly what they can do. We don't ask them to do too much, and that causes a lot of sacks, especially with immobile quarterbacks that kind of panic, pull the ball down, and then we close in on them. So I was absolutely happy to see our secondary, and I went through all the sacks last year. We can look at it. The coverage does their job. And so that's a big part. Now, if we start talking about an injury to Kyle Fuller, Eddie Jackson, that is going to be the real scary stuff. And I would love to have a healthy team, but Roquan, Akeem Hicks, Bilal Nichols, we showed that we could overcome that. So that is at least an encouraging sign. I do have to say the penalties went our way. It's not a bunch of stuff that I think we didn't deserve. But overall, I just think we had the luck of the draw when it came to the penalties and the reviews. Everything kind of came up our way today, so that helped us out a little bit. But it was a battle of field position. It was a defensive battle. And really, Chase Daniel made some plays when he needed to make them, especially early on, and Tariq Cohen and all that. So you have to give your hats off to him. So going forward, again, we will have to see what the injury is to Trubisky. And then Kyle Long as well. I don't think that affected us a whole lot, which was nice to see, especially against that pass rush. But we do have to see kind of what these injuries will be long term. But overall, I was encouraged with what we saw. I know there's some people that are going to want a lot of different things as far as what the scoreboard and the stats say. But for me, I've always told you, it doesn't matter, what we, that we win or what we do. It's how we do it. And so some people might be like, oh, how could we have that win last week? And you be critical, and then we did a close, slugfest this week, and you be happy. It's all about how you do it. And again, the ultimate goal is to be a champion. If you want to be a champion, you got to win in multiple ways. You got to be able to do the slugfest. You got to be able to do the shootout. You got to be able to dominate the teams that you're supposed to dominate, all those different things across the board. And when you get a division battle, sometimes they're just slugfest. And honestly, showing whose will was stronger and who wanted it more, I think we did. And then we came out and we out-physicaled the Minnesota Vikings. And I think that's a positive sign going forward. So not too mad at that. Our lack of run game, that will be a question. That will be a question, but that might be a question for another day. So overall, for the offense, if I had to give them a grade, I give them a B-. I think they executed what they were supposed to execute, came up with some good plays when they needed to. As far as the defense, I would give them an A. We definitely had Kirk Cousins kind of frazzled. And I think we did a good job. And I wanted to do a preview. I didn't end up having time to. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was containing the edge or setting the edge against a zone team. And I think we did a great job of that. Khalil Mack, Leonard Floyd, Isaiah Irvin, all those guys. I think we set a good edge. We forced the run and bounce back inside, and we did a good job of stopping it. So definitely happy with that. And then again, the pressure. Some of the man coverage we did, really giving Kirk Cousins fits. Big stuff. Actually, you know what? Well, I won't go A+. That's too much. I'm gonna stay with an A. So we did a good job. As far as player of the game, and I know I keep forgetting to give one, but player, I'm tempted to give it to Chase Daniel just because of the situation he stepped into, but I'm gonna give it to Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack definitely not only made some big plays, but in big moments, but he disrupted a whole lot of stuff and made Kirk Cousins uncomfortable. And even though when they were driving late, to try to make a play on the game, we took out our D-line again. I just don't understand it. Like Leonard Floyd, Khalil Mack, Roy Robert Harris, all those guys were out. And it was like, dude, it's only 16-0. I know it's late in the game, but like, stop taking our guys out. I really don't understand why we keep doing that. So they end up coming back in later, but I wish we continued to have them play. But anyway, Khalil Mack, I think, would be my player of the game. So, yeah, there's a lot to discuss. I know people worry about Trubisky. People are hating on Chase, and then Chase had a good game, so I can't wait to see what people say. It'll be interesting. But anyway, go to the comment section. Let me know what you think. Share it around. Get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and remember, stay up and bear down.